Cathodic protection is a science. It is based on the corrosion reaction. The corrosion reaction can be likened to a dry cell battery in which acid dissolves metal and releases energy. But before we can actually study this, we must know how to measure it. So the main thing is to understand what we are doing when we are making cathodic protection measurements. And to understand this, we must understand the tools that we use. And one of the tools that we use is called a half cell. This, in fact, is a piece of copper in a saturated solution of copper sulphate. So we must know what copper sulphate is and what a saturated solution is. Well, this is copper sulphate. And it says copper sulphate 5 minus water Lr, batch quantity, etc. The other side it says copper 11 sulphate assay 99.5%, unclass 9 UN 3077 PG minus 3, keep out of reach of children. That's what it says on the container as supplied by the provider. I sent for this on the internet. What is copper sulphate? How is it made? It is copper dissolved in sulfuric acid. And how we use this is we make a solution, a saturated solution of copper sulphate by adding distilled water. This is nowadays called deionized water. In other words, we must know what the water is. The water is evaporated and then condensed. In other words, you boil the water, you send it through a glass tube, and you then cool the glass tube, and the water drips out into a glass container, and therefore it contains no ions. In other words, it doesn't contain any metal or other chemicals. It is just water. It is H2O. It is 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen, H2O. So now we know the basics of what we are using as a tool to measure corrosion within the practice of cathodic protection.